So we just got the first part of You Season 4 and it was pretty awesome, wasn't it? I love how it subverts your expectations right from the beginning, with Joe Goldberg now seeming to be the prey and being the object of another character's infatuation, with a backdrop of a bit of a murder mystery going on at the same time. But it does have the same ingredients of everything that we have come to love about this twisted character, in terms of his fantastic inner monologue, him trying to redeem himself, characters from his past popping up, and he is kind of eerily looking through windows at his new crush, although he is trying to create a new identity for himself, both figuratively and literally. So we're in London for this season, which I think is pretty cool, especially how it pulls out the rich and elite in a really believable way, whilst also having the same slickness and glamour that we've come to see with the characters over the past couple of seasons. I think it's really interesting how, as much as he is trying to run away from the life of his past, people are doomed to repeat it until they properly heal. So whilst Joe may well seem like he doesn't like the rich and snobby people, especially after he left a life in which he felt trapped and suffocated by a rich woman and a rich family, he's now found himself once again surrounded by dozens of them, this time in his latest predicament, which I think is a little bit Shakespearean. I thought the murder mystery angle was actually pretty brilliant, especially how in its past it's purely been Joe's obsession getting the better of him, which I did miss, as it is a brilliant part of the fabric of this show, just with the murder mystery now taking place in the background and with Joe being at the center of it, which was so good. And I love how it positioned itself as a bit of a puzzle that Joe has to solve, and it just worked really well, especially how all of the various suspects then are suddenly dying by their own news stalker. So it just worked on so many different levels. I did think that the final reveal though was a little bit disappointing, as the first 4 episodes where Joe is just going crazy in terms of wanting to try and figure it all out, which is absolutely brilliant. But when we did actually have the reveal that it's actually Reese Montrose behind it all, I just felt like it didn't have the epicness that a reveal like this really should have had. I mean, the fact that they are cut from the same cloth was really cool, and that Reese kind of looks up to Joe, but at the same time has this ability to be evil in plain sight, whilst being adored by both the rich and the poor, and is a true eat the rich killer. Like I said, did work on so many different levels and was really impressive. I just felt that it was a little bit anticlimactic in terms of a reveal that had been so brilliantly built up over the past 4 episodes, but was just a little bit of a letdown. Hopefully though, they do make an incredible final 5 episodes though. Marianne's scenes, while short, I thought were actually pretty perfect, as in it closed the 3rd season really well and allowed Joe to move on to a new area and literally close that chapter and that part of his life, and started his redemption arc when the hitman let him go if he killed off this final loose end, which he then lets go. So like I said, it is pretty poetic this season, although you just know that she is going to make another appearance later on in this season, especially as now she is one of the final people from his past life that knows that actually he is still alive. I thought the idea of making him a teacher, I thought was a really great evolution of his character, especially as when we first meet him all those years back in that bookshop with Beck, and now he is teaching literature. Like I said, it's a really great growth arc for this character, and I love how they show that Gen Z are just really clever and have very different opposing views and opinions than millennials. Surely this student that had a bit of a crush on Malcolm and is helping guide him about murder mysteries is going to play a much bigger part in the plot in season 2. I love the characters that they introduced to us in this series too. They did a really good job in fleshing out most of them. I mean, Kate in particular was really good. She is basically the new love interest, and she's flawed in her own right and actually works with him in a really good way, in a way that he kind of wished that Love did, before we found out that Love was literally just as twisted as he was. Because I feel like Kate has got a bit of Beck quality to her, and I feel like across season 2 and season 3 people were just pining for Beck again, and I feel like they have developed a new character in Kate who does mirror and resemble a lot of the similarities with the Beck character. Phoebe, I thought was pretty awesome and pretty brilliant as well, as she was obviously really well known in EastEnders. And I feel like Tilly Keeper has just grown so much as an actress, and she is just so good in this series. I'm really glad that she was revealed to not actually be the villain all along, but I'm sure that these characters will get caught up in Reese's plans in one way, shape or form. And maybe they might do something like they do with all the Scream movies, that, you know, there was a second killer all along, and maybe some of these characters will do something a little bit darker than we maybe are giving them credit for. The rest of them, I kind of felt they were just fodder, and they were just characters that either Joe and Reese are going to kill, and I'm sure that the rest of the friends, this is going to be their fate in the second part as well, like Sue's sister and the princess. I do feel like they could have developed those two characters as well in particular. I mean, they could have developed the wider friendship group of characters a little bit more, but you know, they have developed the main ones really, really well. Now that Reese is trying to be the mayor of London, he'll have a lot more control, which Joe will try really, really hard to prevent. But they can't suddenly make Joe out to be this superhero type character, so I'm sure he'll have more of a twisted ambition that he's trying to achieve, and having him work through a lot of other things, and maybe Reese will taunt him and force him to be involved unwillingly, otherwise he'll try and implicate him and further frame him, and maybe threaten to either kill Kate or Phoebe if he doesn't help him. So like I said, I'm sure Joe unwillingly will be further thrown into this whole mess. And I think it is a little bit of a spiritual continuation from when Love really did have enough by the end of the third season, and was willing to give it a good shot in terms of working in partnership with Joe, but then ultimately Joe got the upper hand, and I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next with Joe and Reese, with all of these other characters as well. I mean, a lot of people have speculated that Reese could be Joe's long lost brother, and the paparazzi photographer is really his long lost mother. So I'm sure that, you know, Joe's past will somehow be interwoven into the wider fabric of the storyline that's taking place, and maybe all of that will come to the forefront, and maybe Jenna Ortega's Ellie character will make an appearance, as they did tease the fact that Ellie is going to come back one day, maybe in season 5 if it does get signed off for another season. But you know, Jenna Ortega is a massive superstar now, and of course was really busy filming Wednesday at the same time. So those were all of my thoughts on the first part of season 4 of You. I thought it was so good, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in part 2. But now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of part 1? What do you think is going to happen in part 2? Let us know all of your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.